everybody, my name is Old School Nerd, and today I have the honor, nay, the privilege to talk to one of the two Marcos from Temperance. Yes, it's an ongoing joke, and we're going to touch more about that here in a little bit. And with that, are you ready? I mean, you're not, but we're going to do it anyway. Why are there two Marcos in your band? I know that's not the first question I should be asking in this interview because we're trying to be professional here. But why are there two Marcos?
Honestly, I think the next month the drummer will change his name, so it won't be a problem anymore.
Wow. It's already bad enough he's the drummer because y'all don't give drummers enough love. Drummers don't get enough love, is what I'm saying. I mean, it's just, everyone just counts them out. I mean, it's bad enough his last name sounds like either a cured pork product or a cheese. Sorry, Mr. Carrero. I didn't mean to say it like that, but it does.
The good thing is, as you said before, his surname is Sacchetto, and in the translation it means little bag. So we used to call him Little Bag, also in Italy.
You heard it here first, everyone, and I don't even think that's a good thing. All right, so we're going to get off the double Marcos because nobody else's name is Marco. So let's
In Italy, you mean just few people here and there.
I found out that if you go into Italy and you yell Marco, at least 5 people on the street will turn around. If you go to Sicily and say Nico, at least 6 will turn around. Right? It's true. It's true. Okay. So don't ask me how I know that. My godson's name is Nico and he's Sicilian as crazy. So, okay. So here we go. Daruma Eyes Part 2, The Hermitage. Okay. So not only are you an epic modern symphonic metal band from Italy, but now you're doing like anthologies of Part 2, like it's some kind of symphonic Coheed and Cambria thing, which we love. Tell me about the new album. Why is it a part 2 and what can people expect from it? And then we'll talk about when it comes out.
So basically, 5 years ago, we released an album called Of Jupiter and Moons, and the last track of the album was called Daruma's Eyes, Part 1.
Yeah.
Because back then I started wrote a story about this Daruma that I will say something later. But I thought it was probably too many information to put it in a single song. And then I said, okay, maybe this is just a sort of incipit. And then maybe in the next year we release a part 2 with a full story. But for sure, back then we thought, okay, let's see what will happen in the future. You never know. But then the time has come, and more or less 1.5 years ago, we started work on the new album, and I thought it was the right moment to write the part 2 with a full story, and this is a real concept album. I mean, nowadays it's not a trend anymore, in my opinion. But back then, for example, some of my favorite albums ever are from 80s, 90s, but this concept, Operation Mindfront from Queensrÿche, Streets from Sabotage, and etc. But I mean, the cool thing about a concept, in my opinion, is the connection between every track, because you can find some vocal lines or instrumental part pretty much the same in the first track or in the last one or in the middle of the set list, or the track list, sorry. And then the cool thing, in my opinion, is we have 6 characters in the album. For sure, we are 3 singers in Temperance, but that's the reason why we have 3 guest singers. But I think we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about all the amazing guests. Okay, so I think what really gets me is that Temperance has been around for years, okay? But here's the thing, people don't realize that almost every member of this band is part of another identity, another project that is, there's so much, there are little wisps here. I was like, man, that song sounds like Visions of Atlantis. Gee, I wonder why. Or this, because, all right, we're going to talk about we're going to go down the list of all the amazing members and what they bring to the table. I know
so basically we'll spend 1 hour just talking about the members and the project of everyone. Okay, it's fine.
No. 5 minutes. Let's go. Minute number 1. Let's talk about Kristin Starkey. It's funny. Kristin's been around for a while. She's an amazing operatic metal singer. She's a vocal coach. She's done collaborations across the board. You like type in her name and it comes up with all these different things. You're like, how many different things can she do? She even does Christmas songs. Yeah, I actually did a reaction to that. And then I realized, wait, that's the Kristin that I did the reaction to the Christmas song that made me cry. And I went, here we go. So you've got her, which is automatically, I mean, you're up there already. Then you have Michelle. And I met Michelle. Oh my God. He was with Visions of Atlantis.
But please say Michele and not Michelle. Michele.
No, Michelle. So, because he didn't correct me when I told him that in Houston, Texas. No. So Michele had his hat. Because you know he has that ridiculous hat, right? The pirate hat, the big one, the one that's too big for his damn head. Yeah, he looks like a Genoese pirate. So anyway, or Venetian pirate, pick one. So he looks like this pirate, right? And he's in Houston, and he's got the crowd just ramped up. He has got them literally ready to leave, get on a car, go to the docks, get on a boat, and sail away. He's got them in his hand. Idiot grabs his hat, throws it in the crowd. And I'm thinking, he's never seeing that hat again. He is never going to get that hat.
No. I mean,
he gets it back every time. He got it back
almost every time, because Michele told me that sometimes for show was impossible, but 90% of the time the crowd give him the gap back. So pretty cool, I would say.
All right, but seriously though, that dude, when he gets on stage, that is a hat wearing diva right there. He just moves, and he's just like, it's 100% passion. And of course, there's you, and you have a little band that you work on as well, and it's called Serenity, and you have all these. So like, there's so many different aspects coming around from this band, y'all. And when I listen to the music, I can hear wisps of other creative inlets from your experiences, from everything else, and it comes together. And I'm finding that, especially, I just listened to the lyric video, your new one, and I was just like, man, there's so much going on here. I hear almost like a little jig, but then it goes away and it becomes really big and epic. I know a lot of people feel like symphonic metal music is kind of on an ebb. That's only because all of the huge names that we've known for decades or two have kind of stepped back. But it opened the door for a lot of young, creative, modern symphonic metal bands like Temperance. And I think it's an amazing time to enjoy this. Okay, we talked about the idea of the album. We talked about some of the members and how they bring in different thoughts and how they still have hats. Let's talk about the guests, because the guest list on this album is the who's who of this genre. I mean, you've got Fabian, who has done guest vocals on some of our favorite songs from, I mean, her duet with Melissa Bonney for New Horizons for Dark Side of the Moon. It's like on repeat in my kid's room. She like stands on her, I mean, it's just, she shows up, you know, something's going to happen. You have, is it Arjen from Arian?
Arjen.
See, I'm American, which means English is my second language.
Your first is Dutch for sure.
No, my first is Cajun, just kind of a mixed English Cajun thing, because I'm one of those Cajun people. So yeah, I'm French heritage, so we know I'm not gonna do anything right, and it's fine. You've got it's true though. So you have Laura from Fawn. So you already have two amazing vocalists to start. Why go Trinity God level with it by bringing in another guest vocalist on some of these songs? What was the idea of why you would need to do even more?
It's very easy to explain, just because, as I said before, in my opinion, in a concept album, like in a movie, you have different characters or actors, and you have to show this guy or this girl with a proper voice. And I don't think it's possible to manage a story like this just with Kristin, Michele, and me. Because at least there are six characters, so it means six singers, in my opinion. And that's the reason why we call Fabienne, Laura from Faun, and Alessandro from Twilight Force. And I think, honestly, it's a perfect combination. First of all, because we decide to invite some friends, and I have to say also some people from our generation, because I think it could be easier. Try to maybe not easier, but you know what I mean. Maybe call Michael Kiske from Halloween, or I don't know, Sharon from Within Temptation. But this is another generation. We decide to involve only people from our age. And I think it's a good choice in my opinion. But last but not least, I have to say for sure we have also Ariel Lucassen. And unfortunately for him, is another generation, but is just a narrator and is
Oh,
a sort of is a sort of a hero for us in Temperance. And honestly, I was extremely inspired by him to wrote this concept album. And I thought, okay, I have to try to convince Arjen to be part of this as narrator because he never did something like this. But also, for the very first time, let me know if I'm talking too much or not. I don't know.
not possible. Because if you don't, I will. And I get fussed at by people who are like, dude, you didn't even let the artist talk. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
So I'm like,
So exactly. And then for the very first time in the Temperance career, we wrote the orchestration with an external guy. He's called
oh,
Daniele Mazza from Ancient Bards.
I
I
am
think you
so
know this
glad you're
band.
saying all these names because I've already butchered 4 in a row. So I'm just letting you, like Alessandro, I'm letting you say these names because I'm horrible. I'm horrible at pronouncing people's names. Do you know how long it
But
took
I have,
me? It took me almost 4 months to learn how to say El Estepario Siberiano, and he's just a drummer.
but you know what is probably is the same when I have to talk in English. So fair enough.
No, if you came to South Louisiana where I am, and it's where the Cajuns are, we don't even speak English. It's a French kind of mix. It's
Oulala.
weird.
Okay, so is this me, Marco from Italy? I have to speak like this?
No, no, you talk however
No,
you want.
just
We're
kidding.
just gonna
Just
go.
kidding.
All right. I mean, it's. I mean, if I see if after this video and we stop recording, I will literally spell you my last name, my real one that I won't dare say on this interview. You will not get it right. No chance.
Okay.
I will send
Okay.
you free old school nerd merch to Italy if you can say my name
Okay.
right, and you won't be able to do it. There's no way.
Okay.
So after this interview, when the camera's off and we're not recording, I will actually give you my last name. And if
No,
you get it, one try.
but just one thing because I noticed now. But are you recording or not at all?
Absolutely recording this whole time.
Ah, okay. Because otherwise we have to repeat everything. It
Nope.
happens already
Actually,
in
based upon how much we've talked, you would have to repeat everything because I can't say these names right. Okay, let's stop messing around because we're just too. We would literally. You know what I realized? I don't know if the album's going to be amazing, but I'm pretty sure it will be. All I know is if you come to the United States, we can hang out and have some coffees and enjoy some lunch, and we could probably hang out all day and just have a great time.
no,
Just people watching and having fun. All right, album comes out October 20th. We just had a lyric video come out. What are the other plans between now, October 20th, and afterwards? Is there thoughts of touring in Europe, other places, new singles that we should be looking out for? What should we be looking out for Temperance in the coming days?
So basically, a few days before the release of the album, there will be a new single, a new video, the song called "Darkness Just a Drawing."
Okay.
And we used to play some release parties for every album of Temperance, but for this album, we decided to change because I think this album needs more time to be discovered, to be understand 100%. So that's the reason why we'll play. Um, I don't know when you will release this one, but we'll play one show in a couple of days in Germany, and it will be the last show for Diamanti
Mhm.
promotion. And then we'll play one very cool festival called Brainstorm Festival in
Oh,
Netherlands at the beginning of November. And then we'll go directly in tour on tour in February with Serenity for 3 weeks over all Europe, and
Awesome.
then other stuff we're working for now.
Now, this reaction, this interview that we're having, will be paired up with the reaction for Darkness is Just a Drawing. So, since they're going to be together, can you tell the audience here what they can expect here in about 5 minutes? Because we're going to react to this right after this is
Okay.
over. So this is your chance to explain to them, because it says when they talk to us, like, this one is really, this one, according to what they sent me to read, that the Darkness is Just a Drawing is very mystical. It's very woven, like spell weaving, and very like ethereal. And then there's one called Full of Memories, which is very uplifting. So they gave us like all these tracks that every time I read the different track lists, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be fun. Oh, that's gonna be good. And I mean, I get to read it, but nobody else does, and that sucks. But tell me about Darkness is Just a Drawing, because this is the song that we're probably going to be looking at right after we finish talking.
Okay, so basically, the cool thing, in my opinion, about a concept album is that it's a sort of journey. So you have to go through the track list and you will go on the story. In this case, Darkness is um, over the middle of the set list of the track list. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a song with especially Michele, but also Kristin and me, and it's a mid-tempo, very melancholy, but at the same time epic, and tons of deep meaning also in the lyrics. And honestly, it's one of my favorite track of the album. Not one of the most difficult, but very, very cool. Tons of arrangements, and I think will be part of our set list in our tour for the next years, not just for the promotion of the album, but for the next years, because the chorus is very strong. Also, the break in the middle is very epic, and it's totally different than the rest of the album. But it's a cool. We decided to release this one just before the album, just because I think it's a very cool image about the album itself.
Would you say this is one of the ones from the new album that you're most forward to playing live because of its dynamic, would engage the audience in a really good way? Because like you said, you
Yes,
mentioned the break, and then the chorus is super powerful. It's almost like one of those choruses that everyone is literally going to be singing along, because it's not so overly complex to where the crowd can enter into it, feel like they're a part of the experience. And there may even be times when Michaela goes and cut the music and let the crowd sing with him. It could happen. And that's why sometimes you could have the most elaborate songs on an album, but you always have to have that crowd interaction moment. The crowd can feel like they are part of the experience, because when people listen to music, especially when an artist does a story like this, there's always a track on an album that will mean something special to that person. And when they can give you that energy back, that is where it becomes a joining of the emotions and that experience that artists and musicians that are really worth their salt, that actually care about what's going on, will say there's
but
nothing.
but I have to say, in my opinion, we are so lucky, and I am extremely grateful for that because we are a small band, but our fan base of the people I used to hear Temperance and travel all over Europe to see us, they are totally into our music, our lyrics. Some people here and there in Europe made some tattoo with some sentences from so. I mean, not just for Darkness, it's just a drawing, but also for other difficult tracks. I think people will totally understand the deep meaning of the track and the concept. So that's very cool.
I think it's very important that when a band like Temperance, who says we're going to tell a story, not just write a song because it would have a cool hook or we think it's going to get a lot of clicks, but they're trying to, and you said every song seems different because it's all integral to the story. And there's always a part, there might be one song on this album that someone relates to them so much that, like you said, they're getting lyrics tattooed on them. Like, it touches a part of their life. But luckily, if the album is well done and you're speaking to everyone. There may be different songs that attach themselves to different people in a way that, you know, I tell artists all the time, once you release this album on October 20th, always remember that your music will be listened to by at least one person forever. And that one person, you may actually change someone's life. So
yes.
And it happens. And I know when you go to the live shows and people come up to you and then they tell you, how many times have someone come up to you guys and said, this song, I was going through this time, and now I'm here and I just want to say thank you. And as an artist, you got to be sitting there going like, thank you.
But
like you don't realize it.
This is very special because I mean, in some bands you can imagine this kind of stuff maybe just because a very famous track or something like this. But for example, for sure we have some tracks with tons of views, million views and million streams on Spotify and YouTube. But the cool thing is sometimes I don't know, you play in the middle of nowhere in Czech Republic, and someone will came there and will tell you something like, you know, I drove 4 hours to reach you, and there is a song taken from your third album, is the last track of the album, so no one cares about this.
Yeah.
But you know, years ago I had very difficult times in my life, and probably this song saved me. And there's no better feeling in life, I think.
There's no better feeling than when the label says, we need to have 10 songs. And you're like, okay, we'll put this one in. I mean, it's not, we're just going to put this one in because we need 10 songs. And then you're like, and you don't think about it. You never intend to play it live. And all of a sudden you meet someone 2 years, 3 years down the line, like, that song. And then you go back thinking, oh my God, we almost didn't put it on the album. But I'm so glad we did. And you think about it, man, is there some kind of cosmic fate that intertwines all of this?
But it's like this also for the new album, honestly. The new album is, I'm quite sure it will be difficult for someone because there are 14 tracks. And I don't know how many bands I used to put 14 tracks in album nowadays on 2023. But I mean, that's the story. And if we have to follow the story, it's basically 14 chapters. And I have to wrote 14 tracks.
You tell those people to shut up because Neil Peart
yes.
would say, we're going to put 16 songs on an album. People are like, you can't do that. Yeah, but it's part of the story. And who's going to tell Rush they were wrong? No.
But I mean, the topic is a little bit different, in my opinion, because, you know, you can talk about Neil or Rush and some people nowadays, because in my opinion, the level is totally different.
It's a different generation. It's a different focus.
Sure.
Rush, the only reason why people still talk about Rush the way they do is because Rush was doing the things that bands do now, back when radio labels controlled the world. If you couldn't be on radio, why are you doing this? And Rush said, we're going to do it anyway. But now with YouTube and with labels like Napalm and other labels that are like, hey, create what you want to create. There's an audience for you because now we have global reach. So now you have a freedom now that, look, if you were a band in the 80s and 90s and 2000s and you weren't putting out stuff that they could play on videos or on MTV or on the radio, they would tell you no. And now it's, let's make a difference because there's people out there and I think a lot of the restrictions are off and that's great for bands.
Sure, it is. It is. And sometimes some people ask me, you know, but when you sign with Napalm, you change a little bit your mood. It's not true because they told me you can do whatever you want. I mean, they're totally honest. So if I will do a shitty album, they will say, Marco, you know, it's a very shitty album. But, I mean,
look, I can honestly say that there are quite a few labels that are headquartered in Europe. They have offices here in the US, and I'm grateful for that. You know, Napalm, Nuclear Blast, Century Media, the list goes on and on and on and on. That you look at the lineups of their rosters of bands, and you're looking at there going, you know, I understand that you do realize that Napalm may have Temperance, and they'll have a Frozen Crown, and they'll have a Visions of Atlantis, and Ad Infinitum, but at the same time, they've got Nano War of Steel. So are they really telling anyone they can't do something that they want to do? Nano War of Steel, those guys, and I know you know who they are because they're also Italian. I mean, Winrose. I mean, think about this. Could you imagine if we went back 30 years and a record label says, okay, so we're going to have an Italian band who sings about the most ridiculous things and they don't freaking care. A band from Italy that I think they're from the Lord of the Rings, and that's cool too. And then we're going to do Temperance, and they're going to tell a story that's 14 tracks long, and it doesn't matter if the radio likes it because it's going to reach someone's heart. You couldn't do that 30 years ago. It's probably the best time ever since maybe the 70s where everything was kind of crazy for metal, where you could just be as experimental as you want to. And I think we're lucky because I grew up in the 80s. It sucked.
Yes, but we have to be honest on this topic because it's very important. I mean, you have always good and bad side. In my opinion, the good side nowadays is you can reach everyone in the world basically with your music on internet, with Spotify,
Mhm.
YouTube, and then maybe you have the chance just because you create a good fan base online to go in, I don't know, Australia or
Mhm.
India or
Yeah.
wherever you want. Uh, but I
But
have to I have to see also the other side of the story because we have to say that the percent that YouTube is paying, it's a very pain in
horrible.
the ass because I mean 90% of the people are complaining about Spotify. I'm not complaining at all about Spotify because it's 10 times the percent that YouTube
Yeah.
pay me now. So maybe I have to complain about YouTube. What do you think?
This is a YouTube channel. You don't have to tell me anything, dude. I mean, look, and you know what? I think the artists being able to be as creative as they want is amazing. But
Sure.
I think the finances of it are in some ways worse now than 30 years ago. Going on tour is almost impossible now. The expenses of touring and the way everything is set
Especially to
up.
come there.
Dude,
To
it's
come there.
impossible to come here. I beg, and they're like, it's just not feasible. Unless you sign a deal with a certain company that I'm not going to mention them, you can't really come here. And if you do under that banner, you ain't making money, Jack. You in a bond. You'd be lucky if you break even. I've talked to many bands from many labels, Europe, Asia, even here in the US. And I asked them, so what's your goal for the tour? And they're like, to break even. To just not be owing money at the end of it, because touring in the US is so ridiculously expensive. Not only because everything is just more expensive to get here, but the driving distances. You're talking like 8 to 10 hours a day to get from city to city, and it's insane. It's very difficult. You have to have I know Napalm has had a few tours. I'm going to see Dragon Force next month. They have Nano War of Steel. You know, so I get to put my armpit in the air. But outside of that, you know, if they don't come together and get a plan together, it's almost impossible to make it. And that needs to change. I mean, there's always a struggle, but yeah.
But you know, again, good and bad side. We just said about the best side
Hmm.
to come in US. The good side is the merchandising sale in US are crazy. So
Yes.
if a band, yes, so I mean, if a band will come there, they will be able to reach US. They will sell probably the double of Europe. So that's the reason why tons of bands are trying to reach US.
This is my $65 t-shirt for Battle Beast, and I was like, here you go. 65 US. Here you go. No problem. No problem. We'll do it. It's so weird because, and the tickets here, I've talked to friends that are in Europe and they're like, yeah, I got this ticket for this band and it was, 25 euro total. And I went, really? What does that convert to, American? And I looked at it and I went, dude, I saw that same band here and my tickets were 125 US for one ticket.
Yes, yes, but I mean, the money you're receiving every month is different than
It
than the
is.
money they in
It
Spain, for
It is.
example.
Oh man, it's
So
I don't even know how they do it. But I think there are goods and there are bads. The bands that adjust to it and they do really well with it. I got to see you know I got to see Battle Beast last month and they are just so amazing on stage. But there is a list of bands that I've said if you come to the US, I know you can't tour everywhere because the US is so giant. I was like, let me know the closest city and I'll meet you halfway. We're going to go because when do you get to do this? And it's just amazing. So if Temperance gets the opportunity to come over, hopefully with a Napalm crew, because y'all come in groups. It's the only way to do it now. Do it and message me and let me know where that spot's going to be because
sure.
I want to be there. I want to give you some of that merch money. Since we're being honest, and I tell people all the time, everyone out there, support your bands. Like, share, subscribe, buy the albums, pre-sales, the reservations on Spotify. Do all of those things. But please,
nowadays the most important things in general for a band, also for an independent band, are pre-sales, pre-order of the album, and pre-sales for the tickets for a tour. Because especially after the COVID situation, the problem, I don't know in US, but in Europe, that was the biggest problem ever. Tons of people stopped to buy the tickets in pre-sales, but
yeah.
it's impossible for a promoter.
But they stopped buying pre-sales because they were like, "Was the show going to get canceled? I don't want to buy pre-sale again." I understand the thought process, but
sure.
If the promoter doesn't see enough sales in pre-sales, then they're going to be hesitant to put forth more money for the budget, travel, and it gets really stressful. And you've seen many, many bands in the last 3 years that have had to cancel because of logistics. Like there's the promoters not seeing how it's going to work in anyone's favor, and they do, and it sucks, man. And it's hard. But like I said, everyone out there, you got to do the pre-orders, you got to do the pre-sales, because that tells the label, the promoter, the distributors, and the band this is a good idea. I mean, like Electric Callboy came over to the US, they sold out every show. And so now the label and the distributor and promoters are like, you got to come back next year. We're doing double the dates. There is a thing that when you do that now, Sabaton's able to come over every year because they built it up. But when I tell people you got to do those pre-sales, you got to do the pre-orders, but also when the band does come to your town, it's great if you show up wearing one of their shirts. Buy another one, please, because that money's going directly to them while they are there. Because you might actually make it to where they can eat that night. It's true.
So it's a good promotion for the metal world. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Bigger of the two Marcos, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I really hope to meet you sooner or later in US, or if you will travel to Europe, because sometimes American people used to travel to Europe to see some shows, some tour. Maybe we'll meet there.
Okay, if you don't mind listening to your own voice and watching yourself talk, check this interview. Come and join us for the live premiere, and of course, we'll be following it up when the reaction to the newest track before the track comes out and before the album comes out. By the way, one more time, Temperance new album, October 20th. Pre-order that sucker right now. My name is Old School Nerd. That's the bigger of the two Marcos. That dude's gonna kick my ass when he meets me. It's gonna be so awesome. And with that, hey. We'll see you later. All right, everybody. That was my conversation with Marco. I am super excited for this one. This is the brand new Temperance. It's called Darkness is Just a Drawing. Here we go. Epic storytelling. Oh, man. You realize that there are like two bands that Marco is in right now under Napalm, both putting out epic symphonic metal? I mean, this is really ridiculous, the amount of different artists that are embroiled in this epicness. Are you ready? I mean, you're not. I'm gonna press play anyway. I'll have all of Temperance's information in the description. Please check them out. Let's go. And Napalm.
There again, many questions fill up the doubtful minds of them all. What should they believe?
Come on, that beautiful face, the hair, the smile, the soft voice. You wouldn't know it because when he doesn't have a pirate hat on, he doesn't look like a pirate, but he's a pirate. He'll take your boat and he'll steal your treasure. I mean, I know. He's a totally cool guy right here. Gotta watch him though. The guy that looks that good, sounds that good, gotta watch those. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. My only joke. I'm stopping, I promise.
Can they truly trust what Pharamond claims to be the truth? Darkness is just a story, burn of little kingdoms, fill them with your colors, bring them light and light. First the ones afraid of it, find the key to the dome. Many sentences either to read. Sometimes we just miss what they stand for. Secrets lie in the words from your mother. But don't we know?
Okay, let me just say that Kristin is incredible. The first time I ever heard Kristin Starkey sing, again, was with a collaboration with Tommy Johansson from Sabaton. Well, Tommy's a guitarist, but he's also an epic story songwriter, a pianist, and also God-level singer, right? He gets with Kristin. They do this collaboration for Fairy Tale of New York. First time I heard her voice. And even then now, when I hear her do this, the only thing that even comes close to describing what her voice sounds like to me as an old person, I look back in the past. Ready? The sultry low tones of Cher with the power of Ann Wilson. Think of that. That's Kristin. And like literally almost everybody in this band is also, they're outstanding vocalists. So just like other bands, you know, there's other bands in Napalm that are collaborations of amazing artists. There's so many amazing vocalists, such epic storytelling metal. You're just like, man, if I go to this, if I go to these concerts, if these bands get together and play, you're gonna cry a lot, but not ugly cry, like happy, inspired cry. There's a difference. God, it's so good.
Oh, Daruma's
I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that little instrumental with the choir voices in the background, but to me, the end of that song with the three of them just there's some more for you. You got to check this band out, man. Temperance. My God. And I mean, now that I've listened to the song, I almost want to go back and ask Marco, dude, seriously, when you get three, it's not a lead singer with backing vocals. Like literally all three of them could be the lead singers of whatever band they're in, right? And in some cases they are, right? But at the same time, they kind of remind you of Amrith in a way. Now, Amrith, of course, has a female power metal vocalist, a male power metal vocalist, and of course a harsh vocalist. But with Temperance, you have a female rich power alto that has a power that reminds you of the goddesses, the divas of rock, right? The Ann Wilsons, right? And then you these other two guys step up, right? Both in their own right. One has a soft yet earnest voice, and then you have Marco, who's putting all these accents and power belts in there with his own soulful style, right? You put all three of them together, and it reminds me of a metal Destiny's Child, where you have three world-class vocalists that could all be the lead singers, but they work together to overwhelm you with power. And at the same time, the music is incredible. The story is insane. The video is over the top. Literally, and I will say this because Marco's in both bands, between Serenity and Temperance, you'd have a hard time figuring out which one's your favorite band if you saw them together on the same bill. Here's the thing. This is Napalm Records. You know how many bands they have that are symphonic metal powerhouses? Ad infinitum, right? I mean, Xandria. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, just, dude, Camelot, Melissa Bonney, anything she's doing. I mean, there's so many amazing bands like this in this label. You can't even pick a top 10. Because here's the thing, most of the bands, they all work together. That's my favorite part about music right now. Back in the 80s, bands didn't work together like this. I mean, unless there was a reason, but they're just creating amazing stuff. And then you have other labels that have bands like Amarith, like Sabaton, like Battle Beast. I mean, and they all tour together. You never know what you're gonna get. I mean, I'm telling you, when these European metal bands and their labels get together and they do come to the US, you have to take advantage of it. Because man, some of these lineups are incredible. And this is just one example of amazing storytelling and music that is beautiful. I mean, come on, guys. Not everything can be hilarious like Electric Callboy or Nano War of Steel. Sometimes you gotta have epicness, and this is the epic. Yes, we have the dark, we have the loud, we have the harsh, we have the evil. Sometimes you just gotta be inspired. And this is textbook inspiration from Temperance. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to subscribe, right there. Big thank you to all my Patreons out there. We appreciate everything you do. If you want more content like this video, check them out above. Remember, love one another, take care of each other. We're all stuck on this mud ball together. We'll see you later.